Day 92. Giving opinions and agreeing politely. We've been doing very well with making plans and telling short stories. Today we're going to build on that by practicing something extremely useful in everyday life: giving opinions, agreeing and disagreeing politely, and explaining why. Part 1. Speaking practice.
1. Do you think living in Australia is expensive?
I think Australia is quite expensive, especially for rent and food. Cafes and restaurants cost a lot more than in Vietnam. But I also think the wages are higher, so that can balance things out a bit. Overall, you need to budget carefully if you want to live there comfortably.
Two. Which is better, eating at home or eating at restaurants?
I prefer eating at home because it's cheaper and healthier. I can choose what ingredients I use and cook food I like. Eating at restaurants is nice for special occasions, but it gets expensive quickly. So for me, home cooking is better for daily life.
Three. Do you think public transport is important?
Yes, I think public transport is very important. It's convenient because you don't need to worry about parking or traffic. It's also cheaper than driving a car every day. Trains and buses help reduce traffic and are better for the environment too.
Four. Is it better to live near the city centre or outside the city?
I think living near the city center is good because everything is close: shops, work, and public transport. But it's usually noisy and rent is very expensive. Living outside the city is quieter and cheaper, but you need to travel longer to get to work. So it depends on what you prefer.
Five. What makes a good friend?
I think a good friend should be honest, reliable, and supportive. An honest friend will tell you the truth even when it's hard. A reliable friend will be there when you need help. And a supportive friend will encourage you with your goals, like learning English.
Part 2. Useful opinion expressions. A. Giving your opinion. 1. I think. 2. I believe. 3. In my opinion. 4. Personally, I think. 5. From my point of view. 6. As far as I'm concerned. B. Agreeing. 1. I agree. 2. I completely agree. 3. That's true. 4. Exactly. 5. I think so too. 6. You've got a point. C. Disagreeing politely. Avoid simply saying, "You're wrong." D. Instead say, 1. I'm not sure I agree. 2. I see your point, but. 3. That's true, but I think. 4. I understand what you mean, but. 5. I have a slightly different view. These are extremely useful for polite conversations.
Part 3. Dialogue, agreeing and disagreeing.
I think eating at restaurants is better than cooking at home.
I see your point, but I prefer cooking at home.
Why?
It's cheaper and I can choose exactly what I want to eat.
That's true, but cooking takes a lot of time.
That's a good point. I don't mind cooking when I have enough time.
Notice the pattern: opinion, reason, acknowledge the other opinion, your response. This makes your English sound much more mature.
Part 4. Pronunciation practice. Practice these expressions as complete chunks. 1. I see your point, but. 2. That's a good point. 3. I'm not sure I agree. 4. Personally, I think. 5. From my point of view. Fluency tip: don't pause after every word. Try, I see your point but I think. The goal isn't perfect pronunciation. The goal is to make the whole expression come out naturally.
Part 5. Role play. We're having coffee together.
Friend, I think living in the city center is much better than living in the suburbs. Everything is close, and you don't need a car. I partly agree with you. I think it's really convenient living in the city center because everything is close: shops, work, and trains. You're right, you don't need a car and that saves money. But for me, the rent is too expensive and it's really noisy. I prefer living a little further outside the city because it's quieter and I can relax more on weekends. What do you think?
Part 6. Writing practice.
My opinion about living in Australia. In my opinion, Australia is a great place to live because of the lifestyle and opportunities. Personally, I really enjoy the relaxed way of life here. What I like most is the weather and the people. I think Australia has great weather for most of the year, so you can go to the beach or have a picnic anytime. The people are friendly and open. For example, it's easy to start a conversation at a cafe or at work. Public transport in the big cities is also quite good with trains and buses. However, I find a few things difficult. The cost of living is very high, especially rent and eating out. On the other hand, wages are also higher. Traffic can be bad if you drive during rush hour. Overall, I would recommend Australia to anyone who wants to live there. That's why I think it's perfect for a holiday to enjoy the nature, food, and friendly culture.
Part 7. Grammar challenge. Choose the best answer. 1. I think Australia _ a beautiful country. A is B, C, being. Answer: A is. We need the verb to be for he, she, it. Australia is. 2. I agree _ you. To be with. C for. Answer: be with. The fixed phrase is agree with someone. 3. I prefer eating at home _ it's cheaper. Because. B, but. C, although. Answer: because. We use because to give a reason. 4. I see your point, _ I have a different opinion. So. B, but. C, because. Answer: B, but. We use but to show contrast, disagreement. 5. I think public transport is very useful. Personally. B, personal. C, personality. Answer: personally. Personally, giving your opinion. Personal and personality don't fit here. 6. I enjoy living near the beach. It can be expensive. A. However. B. Because. C. So. Answer. A. However. We use however to show a contrast to the first sentence.
Part 8, Mini Speaking Challenge. City vs suburbs, two sides of an argument.
On the one hand, living in the city is very convenient. Everything is close. There are lots of restaurants, shops, and places for entertainment like cinemas and cafes. For example, you can walk to work or take public transport easily, so you don't need a car. I think public transport like trains and buses is much better in the city. It's also great if you like a busy lifestyle. On the other hand, living in the city has some problems. It can be very noisy because of traffic and people. It's also expensive. Rent and food cost a lot more. And there is a lot of traffic during rush hour, so driving can be stressful. On the other hand, living in the suburbs is very different. The lifestyle is much quieter. You usually have a larger home and more parks for families. There is less traffic, and it feels safer and more relaxed. Personally, I think it's better for people with kids. However, the suburbs also have disadvantages. Everything is further away. You often need a car because public transport is not as good. It can take a long time to get to work or to the city center. Overall, personally, I would prefer living in the suburbs. That's why I like the quiet and space. But I still like to visit the city on weekends to go shopping and grab a coffee with friends. I think the best choice depends on your lifestyle. Bonus challenge. Today, focus on one important skill. Don't just give an opinion, explain it. Instead of, I prefer living in the suburbs. Try, personally, I prefer living in the suburbs because it's quieter, there are more parks, and I don't mind traveling a little further to the city.